Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Kristin and Tina. We're so glad to see you. We are your hosts. I'm Tina Prigge with Vagabond Creative Studio. This is Kristin Odell with KLO LLC. Kristin, my friend, happy 2/22/22. Woo!
2/22/22. Do you know that I have two special people in my life whose birthday it is today?
Hey, let's talk about that.
My cousin Tyler's birthday is today.
Happy
And
birthday, Tyler.
I don't know exactly how old he is, but he's in his early 30s. And then one of my dear friends from college, that's her birthday today, and her twin sister. They both have birthdays today.
Nice. Well, happy birthday, everyone.
Yeah.
It seems kind of like a magical date. I think the kids today think it's magical because school has been canceled.
Mm-hmm. I know that Teak is obviously in high school and fairly self-sufficient, but did you have to adjust your schedule or do anything different because of the weather today?
Not really. I'm going to be working from home most of the day. Fortunately, I brought my work with me, so I can just do it here. And it's interesting because I thought that maybe in this new era of Zoom meetings and digital classes that there couldn't be a snow day anymore, but there really is.
No, and there has to be snow days. Like, that's the best part. Yeah, I totally went to bed last night thinking, no, they're going to have school. Like, it's not even doing anything. And then woke up to a text very early this morning from some teachers from school saying no school today. And I'm like, what?
I think he's going to be very happy when he hears the news. I didn't even wake him up to tell him yet. I just thought, let him sleep in. Nice. Because I know he had an exam in some class. So he's going to be delighted that that's postponed.
Yeah. Doug, once I got the message, hold on, my do not disturb turned off. We want that on.
Yeah. Fond du Lac is closed too, Steven says.
Yep. I know Reedsville is closed. My girlfriend Raisa, who's over near Stockbridge, their kids don't have school today. So it's kind of this whole section like south of Green Bay, but north of, say, Milwaukee, at least from what I've been able to see. Although some of our friends down south also had cancellations, but wow. Yeah, Doug went upstairs and turned all the girls' alarms off this morning so that they could sleep in and enjoy a bonus day.
And I heard just before we went live, one of your daughters was like, "Mom, can I make donuts or pancakes if I'm really careful?"
Yeah, because I told them you're not allowed to have the TV on or computers on or other stuff on while I'm on the show. I need to make sure Wi-Fi is good. And normally I'm here by myself, so it's not an issue. But they're like, "Why do we have to turn the TV off? It's a bonus day." I'm like, "I promise you can turn it back on."
It's just 30 minutes, right?
Give me 30 minutes.
Hey, speaking of an ice storm, so today's 2/22/22, which is pretty cool. But and then there's this ice storm, so like the world is essentially closed around us. But Kristin, you shared this article then of the great ice storm of 2/22/22, but meaning 1922.
Right. So this is going around on Facebook this morning. I don't know if anybody else has seen it, but it's a news article from 1922 about an ice storm that coated trees and land and shut things down. It talks about people being without electricity. It also talks about ice shoves and rivers overflowing, which we went past the Manitowoc River yesterday, and it was very chunky and icy as well. So this is a picture of Baraboo, Wisconsin. It talks about Sauk County in the article. But I just think it's super, like, these things don't happen by chance.
Can I just point out my favorite line from this article? It says, please. People with newfangled Kodak cameras ventured out to take pictures.
I know, right? Wow. So it'll be kind of, interesting today to see, when Doug left for work this morning, he's like, the driveway is sheer ice. Be so careful if you have to go out there. And we really don't have like a lot yet. So it is supposed to maybe snow or rain throughout the day. So it'll be kind of interesting to see, if it changes.
And it's interesting the fact that it's 100 years to the day. You hear about 100-year events, but I've never actually, experienced it to the day. That's pretty cool.
Exactly.
I mean, cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and like the same dynamics of it is very, very intriguing.
Yeah. It's like reminding us we should be learning.
not coincidental. The other thing about this is like I'm again inspired by how quickly you can like I had to change my schedule a little bit today. One of the clients I was supposed to be on site with today, they have a number of employees who have school age kids, so they were trying to figure out if they could get in the office or make logistics. So we ended up postponing. And, it's so interesting how I went from having a full calendar this morning to now having things cleared until just about the afternoon. And then even then, those are phone calls from home. And like how quickly I was able to navigate and say, okay, mom's going to be home today, and being able to clear space, not only to meet the client's needs, but be able to meet and be home with the girls.
I think that's one silver lining too that may have come from the horrible situation of the pandemic, right? Is that we now have the capability and the experience of juking and jiving and working from home and doing things differently. And so, at least there's that.
Right. And I mean, would I have loved to get some of the things done that were on my calendar today rather than doing them tomorrow or later? Sure. I mean, that would have been great, but in the reality, like snow days are super fun. And, some of my fondest memories from school growing up were the holidays you get to celebrate and goof around in school and snow days. So, why not?
And I think one of the things that makes a snow day so special like that is because you can't really plan for it. So it's not like you have obligations stacked up on a day that's off or a holiday, right? It is like
Right.
just a bonus day that you wake up to and it's like, surprise.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly right. So,
So check out what's happening in the Manitowoc River with all
right.
that's going on. I have to give credit. This photo is from Facebook. It was posted by John Bruner.
Right. Yeah, it's so cool. He had 2 shots. I don't know if you have the other one uploaded, Tina, but
I don't know.
it almost is like these ice chunks are I'm gonna use my hands in the camera. These ice chunks are kind of floating down the river, but then I suspect water is like swirling around them and moving them down the river. And so they all look like these circular little ice donuts floating
Yeah.
down the river now.
I thought I had read something about what caused it, and it slips my mind. I can't recall what I read.
I
Do you
didn't get
know?
to read anything about it. I just saw pictures really quickly. But I did see that somebody else said the Sheboygan River looks exactly the same way, which I think is really interesting. So again, kind of a local phenomena,
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah, if
right?
anybody that's watching, understands what causes that, I mean, because it's so interesting and intriguing looking, let us
Yeah.
know, post it in the chat.
It
You
kind
know
of
s
almost looks like how like you would drop donut dough in oil and it would kind of dance in the oil. That's almost like how they look in the river.
yeah. Wait, let's see.
Oh, you are teasing us with that. Tell everybody what that is all about, Tina.
So it's funny, okay, donuts, I guess, are the theme of the day. I've got this old cookbook. It's called a Settlement Cookbook. It was first published in 1901, and so, every so often, I'll, like, look through and see if I can just make a recipe, and it's cool because it's the simplest ingredients. It's ingredients you probably already have in your cupboard, and so my son and I were talking about it, and he's like, "What else can you make? What else can you make?" And so I made some toffee the other day. It was so quick. I was like, "This is amazing." So then I looked through, I'm like, donuts. Can you really make donuts at home? And so we gave it a try. We made the dough, and I was like, oh, these are going to be gross, right? Just looking at the dough, it just didn't look like it was
Right.
going to be a donut. And then Jason fried them, and we're like, okay, those look like donuts. Like this is what came out. They were kind of like, artisanally multi-shaped and stuff. We're like, okay. When I bit into it, it's one of the best things I've eaten in like forever. I couldn't believe it. It blew my mind. And then we put this like kind of icing on it, and we were all like, what the heck is happening? They were so good. And I said, oh my gosh, who knew homemade donuts could be so good? And Jason said, well, your grandmothers did, because that's why this cookbook exists.
That's right. That's right. You know, so first of all, kudos to you for tackling that because I won't say that I have a fear of dealing with oil at home, but I prefer not to mess with like oil at home. We just don't do it. So kudos to you guys first of all for that. But there is something to be said about classic recipes that are very simple and just taste amazing. And I think sometimes we've gotten like so in the habit of doing processed stuff that we forget how simple and easy really some of those things are if we just take a little bit of time to do it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and this cookbook is before you needed any kind of, prepackaged
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah,
So it's super interesting. And
that is cool.
honestly, much easier than I would have expected.
Right, right, and I think that's some like, for me at least, some people might think this is terrifying, but, like, the idea of, like, "Hey, we're gonna do this on Saturday morning and putz with this recipe," to me sounds like fun and just something to do as a family, I don't know. Maybe some people are like, "Bah, I would never think about doing that," but
It was a cool challenge, and we felt so excited because we literally discovered something completely new that we had never thought about doing, never really thought we had the capability of doing, and yet we did, and we had a fun time. We're like, wow. And so now my son is kind of like, well, what else can we make? Like, what other secrets are
mhm.
in this book?
You'll if you have other good recipes, you have to tell us about them from the ancient cookbook.
I'm also looking for cool things to put on top of the donuts. So now that we know they're
Ooh,
pretty tasty, we're like, ooh, would Nutella be good on there? Should we frost them in
mhm.
another way, glaze them?
Yeah. One of Doug's favorites is from Christie's in Whitelaw, and first of all, like, their donut dough is just so good and so dense, but
Mm.
they do jelly in the inside, so it's, like, strawberry jelly filled or raspberry jelly filled, and then they do peanut butter frosting on the top. So it's like a peanut butter and jelly donut. So
Oh, yum. Now, I think that's a totally different recipe because, like, these, you can see are just they're like fried cake kind of.
yeah,
So
it's almost like a
it's not that style where you would, like, pump something in the middle.
yes. Yeah, it's almost like a sour cream or cake donut where they're just iced, which, by the way, are my favorite from Quick Trip.
I bet a sour cream or, like, a cream cheese frosting would be good on these.
Ooh, that sounds good. You're making me hungry for donuts.
Hey, so we've got a snow day today. We're talking about donuts. I think this perfectly slacks up how the rest of the day is going to be going. See this girl?
Mhm.
She's got her coffee. She's got her donuts in a book. She is multi-slacking.
I love it. I love it. I don't know if I'll have time to read a book during the day today, but I suspect I'll be eating pancakes after the show, which sounds lovely. And there's never enough coffee on a snow day.
Cheers.
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 I'm going the wrong way. I'm out of practice. You gave me a week off and I'm all out of
Hey, that reminds me. I can't explain this with science, but the cup you drink your coffee out of matters. Do you agree?
I agree. Okay, so tell me, what is the single most important factor when you pick a cup or cups like you in your collection?
I like the size. Like, I've got
Okay.
this cup that I kind of like, but it's just not quite big enough to
Okay.
accommodate the coffee and the cream and the stirring and all of that. I
Okay.
also, ergonomically like the shape, which is interesting because this is a little more square, and sometimes I have more of a tapered cup.
Yep. Yeah. So I
Um,
think I do agree with you. I don't tend to carry my cup around like this though. Like you can see that I have giant man hands, but the handle matters to me. Like I want a handle that I can fit 4 fingers in.
mhm,
Yeah.
right.
Or like this. Again, I don't really carry my cup like that. I'm more of a handle girl. But so to me, a big handle matters. And then the other thing, which this might be weird, I do have coffee in there, but it's dwindling.
Oh, no.
Um, I do not like cups that have a rough edge or are
Oh.
metal here.
Uh-huh.
So, like, ceramic is good for me. If I have to do a travel mug, I want a plastic cover. I don't want like the metal edge. I will drink out of a metal cup, obviously, but I prefer the plastic cover on because I don't like drinking from metal.
I also find I tend to choose a cup that I like the design of. Now,
Hmm.
like, so this one's really cute. It's got like all these like Wisconsin thematic patterns.
Right.
Um, I do have some cups that are totally plain too that I aesthetically like. But yeah, if I don't love the pattern, I don't gravitate towards it.
Yeah. This one is kind of cool. So I got this one for my hairstylist, although unfortunately we have used it in the dishwasher and the logo has come off. But it's like clay rough on the bottom and smooth on the top. So there is some like sensory texture to it, but again, it appeals. It's also a big cup, like it is 2 cups of coffee, which makes my brain happy.
Oh, Mary, thanks so much. Mary says, I love your coffee mugs, ladies. Nice.
I know.
And she says that she goes for a cute message in the cup and the size of the cup. So
Yeah.
definitely agree on that.
I was on vacation last week. We got
Ah,
we got back very late Saturday night. Sunday morning, I got up to have my first cup of coffee, poured cream in, poured the coffee, and my creamer curdled in it. And I had a mug bigger than this. So my whole first cup, 2 cups of coffee had to go down the drain because my half and half was not good anymore. And I was like, dang it,
no.
not even dated yet. Come
Let's see. Heather says, it's honestly my morning question too. I was just going to order a cute quote mug for a family member, but why are so many only 11 ounces? Right,
Yes.
right, right.
Amen
Especially
to
in
that.
this day and age with like a Keurig machine or the machines that have like the pre-sized pods.
Yeah.
It's not like you can just stop, right? Like if your mug is too small, suddenly you've got a mess to deal with, which is no
Right.
fun before you've had your coffee.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. Well, Heather, I hope you can find a larger size mug that you can still get a message on, um,
Yeah.
so that you can find something that meets all your needs.
I found a mug recently online to send to a friend that lives in Atlanta, and it showed like it had the state of Wisconsin, and then it had like the state of Georgia, and it put Manitowoc on there, and it put Atlanta, and then it had like this little dotted line. I don't know if there was a bumblebee or something flying it, but it said like, love all the way from our house down to yours.
Oh, that sounds
Yeah.
cute. I love it. What a
Now,
cute
whether
idea.
that meets the criteria for this person to drink out of it, I don't know, but hopefully they loved it.
Yeah, I have seen a lot of like customizable things on Etsy where you're dealing with smaller businesses who can kind of customize a little bit more. So maybe that's a spot, Heather.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I got it from Etsy, but maybe. So Mary says she just got an awesome coffee mug from Ivy Trails. Oh yeah, yeah, they've got some good stuff like that. She said it
Yeah.
keeps her coffee nice and hot. So
Yeah.
speaking of nice and hot, Kristen.
I know. We were down in Florida. We took some time to, as I was gonna share with other people, sun, fun, relaxation, and recovery just from all the things. It was perfect. The weather
And
was warm and sunny.
if you look at Grace, she's absolutely living her best life.
Right? Yeah.
That's
We had
fantastic.
a really great time away, and so thank you all for allowing me to take the week off and enjoy some much needed family time. I just, always think, we came back, first of all, thankful just for the time away, but also just reflecting on, we had some acquaintances pass away in the last week while we were gone, and it just kind of really, really validates that how important that family time is and being able to kind of hit the pause button and just kind of focus. And we haven't traveled just the 5 of us in a while. A lot of times my mom and dad come, or we travel to visit family and friends. And so this was just really cool because it was just the 5 of us.
Oh, that's pretty cool. And momentous because you made it all the way to the southernmost point of the continental US.
We did. One of the days we made a road trip all the way down to Key West, which is the southernmost point of the continental United States. So this is the marker there that you like wait in line and get your picture taken. And you can see the skies were super blue that day. It was a little bit chilly some of the first couple of days. So we did have sweatshirts on, but it was still like it felt amazing to be in the sun. And yeah, I think the girls are all old enough, hopefully, that they'll remember being down there together and visiting that spot.
So did you get to do a lot of swimming too? Or did you do any snorkeling?
We did not do so. The little girls are kind of a little bit too little to snorkel yet. And this is kind of a fun fact about Doug. He did not grow up around the Great Lakes. So he is not as fond of swimming where he can't see the bottom or touch the bottom.
Ooh.
Um, so if we go snorkeling, the girls kind of have to be able to handle themselves at least a little bit. So we were a little bit cautious about that, but we did fish one day, did shoreline fishing, because the weather wasn't cooperating very much for us to go out and kind of do deep sea fishing. And then the girls got to go parasailing. So that picture was from our last full day there. We got a really nice boat ride and got to see Silver Mile Bridge from parasailing from a parachute. So that was really cool. And oddly enough, the beaches down there, there was bacteria warnings for the beaches. So it was kind of a swim at your own risk. And we elected not to swim on the beaches because we didn't want to deal with flying back and having somebody not feeling well. So um, we spent time at the beaches and walked on the beaches and took them in, but swam at the pool where the house was just to be on the safe side.
That's a really good rule of thumb. Anytime I travel, I always try to observe, like, okay, do the locals think it's a good idea to be swimming right now, or are
Yeah.
they not? Like if they are, cool, I'll give it a try. But like, I don't want to show up from like out of state and be like, I'm going in, and then
Yeah. There were
no.
definitely people swimming. I think that was one of the hard things is the girls like, there's other people swimming. And we're like, we
Oh,
know, but we also know that like if you get sick, the version
yeah.
of sick you're going to get is likely vomiting or diarrhea. And I don't know that we want to risk that when we are having to fly back and travel. Saturday
Yeah.
was like a full day of travel to get home. So we just elected not to, but there were definitely people doing it. If you get on a boat and get farther out, there's no issue with it. So if, people went snorkeling or whatever, totally fine. Um,
Mm.
but there was quite a bit of rain before we got down there. And so that creates a lot of runoff. And I guess that just influences the water. So
Yeah, and the other thing you have to look out for too in a situation like that is jellyfish or stingrays or any other kind of wildlife that we're totally not used to up here. But when you go
yes.
to a different locale or different climate, there's different like
So
dangers to
that
be on the
was
lookout for.
Yeah, so that was the other thing. Let's see, we got in on Saturday, so like Sunday, the winds were actually coming in from the Atlantic Ocean, pushing inland, which I guess is rare. Usually it's the other way around. And so there were also warnings for stinging marine life, which Grace had a run in with jellyfish a couple of years ago down in Hilton Head. And so she is not interested at all of taking a risk for that. So that was another good reason not to do it because there were marine life there that may cause some temporary pain.
Hey, speaking of marine life, a couple of shows ago, we were talking about ice fishing, which we know nothing about, but we've been talking about it. But
Yes.
recently a post just came up and I have to share it just to kind of close the loop on the conversation. But also, this makes me understand why, like you said, Doug has a phobia kind of deep water that he can't see the bottom. Knowing that something like this is swimming around, right? Like it's enough to freak a person out. It's 171 pounds. 83
Yeah.
inches long. This is an example of a sturgeon at Lake Winnebago for the sturgeon spearing.
Super, super awesome. I cannot imagine, like, first of all, seeing one swim by. Second of all, being able to deliver the spear well enough to catch it. And then third of all, actually getting it out of the water. Like, awesome. So exciting. I know while we were traveling, somebody that Doug works with was out and got one as well. And I'm like, that is so awesome. Very, very
Yeah.
cool.
So, in a couple of shows ago, you showed us a picture of like a great big rectangular hole being cut. And,
Yeah.
I'm used to seeing like the circles, like on Manitowoc River, there's a bunch of circles for the ice fish. And it's like, huh, now I can understand why you'd have to have that great big hole because this is a great big fish.
Yeah, and like I said, some of them were 3 by 5 feet or whatever. When you look at 83 inches, like, it's pretty awesome. Kudos to him. He looks like a young man. I thought that was pretty exciting.
Hey, going back to the coffee conversation, Catherine says that her favorite thing to drink coffee out of is her China coffee cup. Makes drinking coffee more special.
I do like it. So, China cups are cool because they feel delicate, like there's something that feels maybe fancy about it. I struggle with the handles on them because it's usually small, but
Right.
yeah.
Right. A lot of times those handles, even though it's a loop, it's almost meant to just be gripped on the outside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very daintily, maybe like this.
But I feel like it goes like this. Fill it up, please. Fill it up, please.
I'd have to have the coffee pot very close by.
It reminds me of having tea parties. Have you had tea parties with the girls? Do they still do that where they set up their stuffed animals and
No, it's been a while. I feel like that we did it more when they were like 3 and 4. We've kind of grown out of the tea party stage, but you're right. You're very correct about that.
now you're in the pancake making stage?
Now we're in the, "Hey, Ma, can I make some pancakes?" Yes, please entertain yourselves. Don't use the
Chris
Wi-Fi.
says, when I attend trade shows, I go to an antique store and buy a china cup for my morning coffee.
Aw.
Cool. That's a cool idea. And then you've got that souvenir too, like that touchstone.
Yes, I really had to resist the urge to buy like, I don't really have any more like, coffee cabinet hook space for any more coffee cups, and so I'm having to exercise some restraint. So, I really wanted to buy a new mug on vacation, but I'm like, "No, you do not have room for any more coffee mugs at home." So,
I'm impressed at your restraint. I wish that sometimes my son showed more restraint. We came up with a new word the other day to describe what happens in our house prior to mealtime. You have to let me know if anyone relates to this, but Jason came up with it. It's called hungermentative. It's kind of like a cousin of being hangry, but it's not just anger. It's like argumentative when hungry. Like literally, because he's hungry, he can argue about anything. Like if you told him today was cold, he would have a reason why it's not. If you would say school is canceled, he would argue a reason. You know, like it just argumentative for argumentative sake, being driven by the hunger we finally discovered, right? Because once you
yes,
feed the beast, then all of a sudden he's like, oh,
pleasant.
yeah.
Um, so this is I feel like a, big brother to being hangry, which is angry and hungry. The argumentative piece is interesting though. So will he do that at all times of the day, or is this typically like a dinner time thing?
It's specifically like a food thing. And so it often happens around supper because other meals, you know, like breakfast, he can serve himself if he wants, or he can make a sandwich for lunch. But like when supper preparations are on, that's
Yeah,
when the risk is the highest
yeah.
for
So I see
hungermentation.
Mary commenting that that's totally her. My youngest, Nora, is hangry and what was the word?
Hungermentative.
Hungermentative, like all the things. And she will go into full on like what feels like foreign negotiations about what kind of snacks she can have and it like why can't I eat? Sometimes it involves crying. Like, and I'm like, we are like 5 minutes from dinner. You got to hold out. And it's, you would think the world is coming to an end. So,
Yeah, I totally relate. And at its worst, he like starts to hover. Like, and then you're trying to, you know, you turn around and he's right there. It's like, honey, you just got to step back. It's like 5 more minutes.
yeah, we have started on times like last night. We had kind of a busy schedule yesterday afternoon, and the girls like, can we just do pizza? And I'm like, yeah, but let's do salad also. I had them start with salad first while the pizzas were still in the oven just to kind of curb some of that, like, you'll be okay. You can start having salad and veggies now. I promise the pizza will be out soon. Just to put everything like it's going to be all right.
Nice. Do you have any other words that you use amongst your family, like little mashups that you've put together based on things?
I'll have to think about that. Can I get back to you on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Mary, that's hilarious. Hunger diva mode.
Yeah. Mary, in your house, are you preparing dinner at the same time that you're hungry, or is somebody else preparing dinner? Because I feel like I'm typically the cook for dinner in our house. And so I have a tendency to like, oh, I'm cutting veggies, I'll pop one in my mouth, or you know what I mean? Like I'm preparing. So I have the benefit of snacking while I'm doing that, where obviously the kids are not. So um I'm sensing a common denominator here, Molly.
And Mary says that they both prepare dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh
Kristen, that's interesting. As the preparer, you're right. I often will like snack, you know, you have to taste test things. And sometimes by the time dinner's served, I'm already
yeah.
full.
Right. Yeah. So maybe that, or, maybe this is a tip like with Nora, maybe I put her on like, here, why don't you cut the cucumbers? And then if she wants to have a cucumber while she's cutting, that's just an example, but there you go.
Well, I
Yeah.
like that idea that you had of about like serving them the veggies and the salad up front. What
Yeah.
better way to get them to eat it, right? Because they're hungry. Now there's this food option. And I found that's the best way to get veggies into my son sometimes too, right? Is like, okay, here, this is available now.
Right. If you're truly hungry, you will eat the
Mhm.
salad.
True, very true. Kristen, this has been so much fun.
Thank you. It was so good to take time off last week. I appreciate y'all giving me a break to focus on family and It feels good to be back and
Wait,
ooh,
Chris just said, "Verschimmelt" is a word we use in a sentence. The bed coverings are verschimmelt. Oh, I love it.
wow,
Chris, that is a great word. Verschimmelt.
verschimmelt. I would like to know the origin of this. How did it come to be? Because it's kind of like disheveled,
Yes.
but
Yes, it
it's
has kind of like a German sound or like a
yes.
verschimmelt.
Yeah.
And can
So
you use it, Chris, like, could I describe my hair as being verschimmelt?
ooh, that's a good question. I feel like my hair is verschimmeled today. Do you see this? My hairspray. Um, yeah, multi-slacking. There you go, Keith. We saw that on there earlier. You go for it, buddy. Multi-slacking. Some days you just need to multi-slack.
Lori, I wonder if that's the same meme. I wonder if we both saw the same meme. That's
Mhm.
awesome. Okay, Chris said, you said it correctly. Oh yes, hair can be verschimmelt. Okay, I love it.
Yeah. Okay, we'll
All
have to
right.
see what other words come in. I'm gonna think about what I say.
Oh, let's see what
It's not
is.
Keith, it's Lori. I love that. Thank you. We never know. We have no way of knowing.
Right,
Uh,
right.
yes, I will have to think about what words we use. I feel like we call the girls nicknames, but they're not ones that maybe they would want us to share on air. Um, so
I know when
that
like I
will,
was playing Super Mario with my son, and I'm not very good. Like video games, that's not my
yeah.
nook of the world. And so I'm like constantly dying or falling off things or what. And I find that I'll like call it like shevitz, shevitz. And he's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "I don't know, but it kind of works."
It's not a swear word.
Right, right.
I love it. Okay.
All right.
So you guys keep commenting about the words used in your family because we're going to revisit this next week. I'm going to pay attention to what I say because I feel like some of these things just come out and we don't even know we're saying them. So I'm going to work on paying attention to what I'm saying.
Right.
And we'll
Everybody
talk.
stay safe on this 2/22/22, where everything is canceled because of the icy conditions. So it is okay today to multi-slack. It is okay to be verschimmelt. It's okay to, just keep eating those so you're not hungermentative.
Perfect. I love great advice. Great advice for this ice day.
We love that you joined us. Thank you so much, everyone. We will see you next time on Coffee with Kristen and Tina.
Bye, guys. Have a great day.